And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience, The View, would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last weekend.
Yeah, they have nothing else to...
Whoopi Goldberg had a surprising moment on live TV, not because of the weather, but due to Charlie Kirk unexpectedly shaking things up. One moment, Whoopi was confidently sharing her views, and the next, she seemed completely caught off guard, like she'd heard something unexpected. So what did Charlie say that disrupted the usual flow of The View? Let's just say, if you like a bit of daytime drama, this one's worth watching.
Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis.
For years, Whoopi has been a powerful voice on The View, famous for her bold opinions and confident style. With a loyal following and lots of applause, she rarely faces pushback live. Whether you agree or not, she's known as the go-to for strong, honest takes during daytime TV.
Welcome back. You know, in Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me, and it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry. Okay. So, the state...
Then came a surprise from Charlie Kirk. He wasn't the usual figure to stir up daytime TV, but that's exactly what happened. He didn't appear on the show or face Whoopi directly. He responded from his own platform, sharing clips, facts, and commentary. Just like that, the internet caught his message and spread it, putting the spotlight back on The View.
What did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk.
The moment began with a confident comment from Whoopi, followed by laughter, applause, and some nods from the panel. But Charlie Kirk noticed something many missed, a flaw in the logic that didn't quite add up. It was subtle, but clear to anyone paying attention. And Charlie, he wasn't going to let it pass. With his usual mix of timing and confidence, he seized the chance and ran with it.
Disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated.
Charlie started by calmly laying out the facts. No yelling, no drama, just a clear breakdown. That's when it got interesting. He didn't simply disagree with Whoopi. He carefully analyzed her statement using real data and clear points. It was like watching a puzzle come apart piece by piece. And in the end, her argument didn't hold up. He didn't stop at one flaw. He pointed out several, each stronger than the last. His approach was clear, focused, and delivered with quiet confidence, knowing this clip would go viral by day's end. And he was right. Social media exploded. Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, you name it. People reacted, shared, and turned the moment into viral clips. Even those who hadn't watched The View in years suddenly had opinions on Whoopi's style. Why? Because Charlie's response showed one thing clearly: her statement sounded strong, but underneath, it didn't stand up. The reaction? Huge.
Now we begin with a shocking apology just a short time ago from the ladies of The View to Turning Point USA. A war of words broke out after the conservative group was rallying the next generation of voters at its youth summit in Tampa, Florida this weekend. And the liberal panel just couldn't help themselves. The group sent a scathing cease and desist letter after hosts on The View suggested that Turning Point had embraced neo-Nazis who showed up outside.
People at home started wondering, wait, did she really say that? Even more confusing, why was the audience clapping? That familiar, untouchable world of daytime talk shows began to lose its shine. Whoopi wasn't challenged live. She was called out online, clearly and calmly, by someone who never stepped into the studio. And that hit differently. The usual control on The View, the applause, nods, and laughs, suddenly felt a bit off. You could feel the tension, a mistimed joke here, an awkward smile there. Something had shifted. Whoopi was still at the table, still sharing her views with authority, but the spark? It wasn't quite there. The confidence had a slight crack, the flow felt forced, like someone replaying old hits unsure if the audience was still with them. And here's the real point. It wasn't just Charlie's words, it was what he showed us. You don't need a studio script or audience to challenge ideas. Sometimes all it takes is a webcam, internet access, and the courage to speak the truth.
You let them in and you knew what they were. Right. So you are complicit. I want to make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazi Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical, that you embraced them at your thing, I felt.
Well, fast forward to this morning, the host apologized before quickly cutting to commercial.
This wasn't a loud shouting match. No yelling, no dramatic rant, just Charlie Kirk calmly making his points with the quiet confidence of someone who knew he was right. While The View used applause and breaks to keep the pace, Charlie relied on sharp, simple logic. It was a quiet takedown, like a cat knocking something off a table without a second thought. Direct, cold, and effective. And it hit hard. After that, the mood shifted. The internet picked up fast. Clips of Charlie's response spread everywhere. Titles like "Did Charlie Kirk just expose The View?" And "This one clip changes everything" popped up on YouTube. People who once ignored the show suddenly noticed patterns, recycled points, weak logic, and the usual "we're always right" tone that had gone unchallenged for years. To be clear, Whoopi didn't collapse. This wasn't a dramatic meltdown. She kept showing up, sharing her views. But something in the atmosphere had changed. It wasn't loud, it was subtle, and that made it even stronger. The next bold claim didn't get cheers, just silence. The next joke landed with a cough instead of laughter. The sparkle wasn't gone, but it had definitely dimmed.
John, something that struck me in the cease and desist letter was the sentence that specifically The View host insidiously and cavalierly stated that TPUSA let the neo into its event, metaphorically embraced them, and it went on. Insidiously and cavalierly. And I felt that perfectly summed up exactly what those women were saying, which is something so deeply toxic and also so lightly thrown out there.
And so false. I mean, these were protesters outside of the event, right? They couldn't get in. These were not neo-Nazis inside of Turning Point USA. They were protesting outside on public grounds. And Turning Point tried to...
There were small, telling moments when Whoopi glanced off camera, almost looking for a reaction, but got nothing. That's the real sting of losing the crowd. No one says it's over. The applause just fades and the room grows quiet, too quiet, even the producers noticed. Suddenly, The View's topics got safer. No more bold, fiery rants, just lighter takes, rehearsed laughs, less heat. It felt like a silent message went out. Let's not go viral again for the wrong reasons. The genius of Charlie's takedown was that he didn't need to step on their stage. He didn't debate or interrupt, he simply cut off the oxygen. A quiet, powerful hit. No yelling, no drama, just truth, delivered calmly by someone confident in his facts. And for once, it worked. Not because Charlie is famous, but because he said what millions thought. He pulled back the curtain on daytime TV's confident surface and showed something much thinner underneath. This wasn't about politics. It wasn't left versus right. It was common sense finally getting a voice. And a Wi-Fi connection. Once people heard it, they started questioning how long they'd been clapping for sound bites that couldn't survive a fact check. But maybe the loudest moment was the silence. Not just from Whoopi, but from everything around her. The show didn't fight back. The machine that usually defends itself didn't roar, it whispered. Because honestly, what could they say? The facts were clear, the logic solid. Arguing would only have made things worse. And in a world built on spin, silence might be the only real sign someone hit a nerve.
A lot of fun at the Department of Education. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
Can I tell you something? Like, I've had quite a few people contact me about that particular post. Like, I'm sure I have 1/100th of what you're getting, but people are contacting me about cabinet posts. I'm like, I got
look,
nothing.
I mean, yeah, I'm actually, after this conversation, heading to Mar-a-Lago for a week, and we have a lot to sift through, and if I could be helpful, I have asked. I want to be actively involved in all things education, as you can imagine.
So what did the media machine do when faced with harsh accountability? The same thing it always does. It blinked and kept going. But the internet doesn't forget. Weeks passed, but that video stayed alive. People kept sharing, quoting, and treating it like a cultural moment. The exact time the illusion cracked. Whoopi's untouchable image didn't explode. It slowly faded, with a hit so sharp it didn't even leave a mark. And Charlie? He moved on like nothing happened. Like someone who knocked down a building and didn't look back. That's the thing about modern takedowns. They don't need a McDrop. The internet does the work. All it takes is one clip, one clear moment, and suddenly it's not a debate anymore. You're not arguing with a person, you're facing a timeline. And Whoopi, for all her polish, presence, and years on screen, she walked straight into that timeline. No outburst, no meltdown. Just a quiet, creeping truth. In public opinion, the loudest voice is often the one holding the proof. This wasn't just another day online. It was a moment that mattered, a shift. Like when someone finally tells you your live, laugh, love sign isn't deep. It's just basic. This wasn't a feud. It wasn't noise. It was the day Charlie Kirk, armed with Wi-Fi, sharp logic, and a presentation that landed harder than any speech, did what no Twitter storm, shouting match, or viral meltdown could. He busted the myth that mainstream talk shows are untouchable fortresses of truth. And once that spell broke, what came next didn't matter. The curtain was pulled back. The audience saw what was behind it.
To speak at University of Kentucky, they'd give an open mic like I just did to a conservative and had a discussion like this.
I certainly hope they would.
No, they wouldn't. Because speech is not a left-wing value. That is why they have to deploy shock troops called Antifa to go after everywhere I go. When I go to University of California, Davis next week, there has to be 120 police officers because of the threats, the violent threats of liberals that want me dead, that want to disrupt our...
Let's be real. Daytime TV has long acted like it's delivering prophecies from a glitter-covered oracle. Think shiny sets, stage outrage, and an audience so trained they'd make Pavlov proud. The hosts could say anything, seriously, anything, and still get claps, nods, and the occasional yas queen from row 3. Logic? Missing in action, but loud confidence. Front and center, enter Charlie Kirk. No studio invite, no shouting, no dramatic entrance. Just a guy, a camera, and a timeline. No lights, no graphics, no yes men choir. He just hit record and broke the fourth wall of daytime illusions like it was a Dollar Tree mirror. Here's the kicker. It wasn't what he said, it was how he said it. Clear, calm, cold. He laid out receipts like a tax auditor on a mission. No drama, no music, just facts falling like dominoes. Charlie didn't try to shout over anyone. He brought clarity to chaos and asked, "Does this actually make sense?" It was like untangling a necklace while someone else screamed, "It's a noose." And just like that, Whoopi Goldberg, once the queen of daytime talk, looked human, mortal, vulnerable. Not because someone yelled louder, but because someone brought a pie chart to a shouting match. That moment, the glitch in the matrix, when a polished TV segment gets fact-checked by a guy in a hoodie from his living room, and suddenly the emperor's new clothes look like clickbait. Better yet, or worse, depending on your view. Whoopi wasn't even there to hear it. This wasn't a live showdown. It was a precise strike from another dimension. Charlie dropped a truth bomb, and somewhere, Whoopi's studio chair creaked a little louder the next day. She didn't lose a debate. She lost to a monologue she never heard, a response she never saw coming. In an era where Google searches cut deeper than comebacks, the irony is clear. The internet didn't wait for permission to notice. That's the thing about echo chambers. They bounce your voice back until you think it's a chorus. But outside the studio, people fact-checked, cross-checked, memed. It was like The View got surprise audited by the Department of Digital Receipts. And the illusion? It shattered. Not with fireworks or scandal, but with a quiet, data-driven roast beyond commercial breaks. That's the power of a modern takedown. No mic drop, just one brutal fact dropped straight into the algorithm. And just like that, an empire built on applause crumbled under its own contradictions. Now the question isn't, will Whoopi bounce back? Of course she will. This is TV. There's always a second take. The real question is, will the audience ever unsee it? Can they clap the same way again, knowing what's behind the curtain? Because once the magic trick's explained, it loses its sparkle. Once the wizard steps out from behind the curtain, he just looks like a guy with a smoke machine. So next time Whoopi raises an eyebrow and delivers a fiery monologue, remember, somewhere someone's quietly checking the math. And you can bet your last brain cell, the internet will be watching. Calculators ready. This wasn't just a takedown, it was a reckoning, and it came not with a scream, but with 1,000 retweets and one ruthless fact bomb from a guy who never even stepped